Click on the stream, light the spark. Steve's very own, tearing through the dark. Boomer fingers on the keys. Old school rhythm, bend in the breeze. Building his world one clip at a time. Pixel by pixel, climbing the climb. No map, no guide, just the screen's glow. Steve very own and the show. Hey chat, you there? Hey chat, who cares? Steve's very own, breaking the code. He's got the fire, riding the load. Steve's very own, the crowd's his home, streaming his soul into the unknown. Gamepad shaking, voice alive. Every moment's fight or survive. Boomer's laugh cuts through the air. Trolls and fans, they're all out there. Pixels crackle as the scenes collide. He's got the heart to stem the tide. The grind, the rise, the late night tunes. Steve's anthem under the moon. Steve's very own, breaking the code. Riding the load. Steve's very own.
This is an important day, big day.
Streaming his soul into the
People say I am the best boss. They go, God, we've never worked in a place like this before. You're hilarious. And you get the best out of us. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Born in Chicago, a city of stone. Steve's got a channel, calls it his own. Gray in his beard, fire in his eye, clicks and follows his battle cry. Steve's very own, holding the line, streaming his heart through the sands of time. On Twitch, on YouTube, he's carving his name, but the numbers don't lie, it's a hard-fought game. The chat rolls slow like a winter wind. Memories of the glory days, they begin to thin. He laughs at the lag, cracks a joke or two, but deep in his chest, he's wondering who'll stay true. They say the young rule this digital town. Steve won't let their whispers drag him down. Steve's very own, holding the line, streaming his heart through the sands of time. On Twitch, on YouTube, he's carving his name. But the numbers don't lie, it's a hard-fought game. The algorithms, they're a fickle beast, feeding on trends, never on the...
All right.
You are enjoying Steve's very own live.
Hello there. Hey, Nova Charter. Couldn't chat on Twitch. Caffeinated Lennox is there, sending his key. Hey, Tyler, how are ya? How you guys doing this morning? Happy Sunday. Dan Simmons? Wow, I'm honored. How you doing, Daniel-san? Welcome to the stream. What's new? What's new? Thanks for stopping by. It's nice to see you. Let me get some music going. Get this party going. What do we want to play? I think about some essential new wave. So boy, everybody's doing fine, doing well. Up and at 'em early today. Good. You guys are going still pretty strong with the Linux user group. Always nice to see. How you put up with Leo, I just don't know. Shh, don't tell him. No. Oh my. So happy Sunday. Hope you didn't get, I know you're out east. You didn't get hit by that big snow a couple weeks ago, did you? Did you? I hope not. Hey, Nova, you're in Boston. Did you get hit hard? I don't remember you telling me. I don't. Oh, coffee. Coffee. So, Dan, I mean, you haven't been on for a while. I've just expanded all my streaming stuff. We got some, but it wasn't too bad. Very good. Nova had to dig out in Boston. He's in Boston, you know? But he doesn't talk like he's from Boston. He must be from that other part of Boston. You know, the other part that does coffee and donuts. No. Oh, my. So, what has your week been like? I have been working, so right now I'm streaming on Windows. That's my main platform. Because, I'm sorry, everything works. And no workarounds, and everything's kind of designed for this and that. So when I go to the Linux side, I have to kind of work harder at it. But I have been in the last week or so. Oh, your accent only comes out in certain conditions, like when you're talking to your wife. Listen, honey. I've been told by other people we can't tell our accents, right? My nephew's wife is from Ireland. She's, been living in the UK for many years after leaving Ireland. And she goes, "Yeah, you got an accent there. No one wants to work hard on Sunday. Use what works for you." Yes, Dan, you have always been good about that. Um, and I appreciate that. Part of the, I still do stuff. My production stuff might be fancy. We'll call it production stuff. So my streaming stuff is mostly on Windows. Why? I don't have problems. We don't have issues with Wayland. So I can have browser custom docs and VSTs. And docs don't spread out and move around like they do on Linux. Like, docs don't lock. They just don't. Excuse me. Sunday morning. Hey, coffee loosen up everything. And then all the streaming stuff that goes with it, I do a lot of fun things, we get every once in a while we get a Karen to show up, and okay. No, Karen, don't look at Dan like that. He's a good guy. He really, really is. And Nova doesn't deserve that. Neither does Tyler, Come on. Oh, she knew Andy was coming. That's what it is. Look at that. She knew Andy was coming. You feel weird now? How you doing, Andy? I hope all is fine. Stop the stare. What? Ooh, okay. Is that instead of stop the steal, it's stop the stare? Yeah. But as much as it's all sorts of we're lucky on the plugin developers have been making a lot of plugins that will work on Linux too, and that. Thank you, plugin developers, but there's still a few that don't. I just saw you as I was reminded to take a pizza dough out of the fridge. There you go. There you go. Pizza Sunday. I made pizza for all of us Friday night. I made a sausage, pepperoni, bacon pizza for my son. I made a sausage and pepperoni pizza for myself, and just a sausage pizza for my wife. It was pretty good. And then we watched, we were going to watch an Irish movie to get ready for St. Patty's Day. And I just signed up for Amazon Prime for a free month because I needed a part real quick, and they offered free Prime like they normally do. So we're watching Prime. We were going to watch some Irish movies. Well, of course, all the Irish movies that we wanted to watch were also paid extra, another extra $3.99. It's like Amazon, Bezos, I know this platform is off of Amazon now, so I got to be screw it. He's a trillionaire or whatever. But so we ended up watching Medea's destination wedding. If you guys ever watched Medea, we love Medea. Tyler Perry and Medea. So that was our Friday. But I had to order a part. I had to kind of like segue a little bit. Not segue, talk about Amazon part I had to order. So our washing machine stopped filling with water. And here in the state, at least, trying, getting a repair person to come out, right? So we normally kind of we have used it quite often. Sears still has a home repair. Well, now they charge, $129 for a diagnosis, which they waive if you have the job done. So it's a Samsung washer. It's about 10 years old. It turns out it was the water valve system. And the guy had to back off in like about not even 15 minutes, right? Real good technician, really nice technician, very helpful. Says, yeah, your water valve is pretty much dead. Okay, how much would it cost? He goes, okay, I'll get that for you. He goes, now this is Samsung, so Samsung's parts are expensive, and right now with the tariffs, the part's $299. What? What?
Emotional damage.
Labor, $300. I look at him and I said, are you fucking kidding me? He goes, yeah. He goes, you can get a new washer for that price. I go, no shit. He goes, well, here, if you want to do it yourself, you could actually, order a part. So I looked up parts, and if I ordered a part from Samsung directly, it would have been $188. So I understand markup, but $111 markup? And then $300 for labor where it takes 15. Long story short, I bought an off-brand part, right? $40 from Amazon. If it goes out, at least we have several, we got some extra time on this washer, and we didn't have to, we got money. Who wants to spend $600 something on a new washer, right? Tyler just required a machine that runs on non-Linux Unix operating system. So the part was $40. Took me 20 minutes. It was mostly getting the washer to pull out from the wall to replace it. And they wanted to charge $300 for labor? I'm sorry, Sears Home. We're not going to use you guys anymore. It's ridiculous. I understand gas and all that, right? $300 for a 15 to 20 minute job. And the washer works fine. You know what? There's a thing called YouTube. On YouTube, learn how, watched a couple of flicks. They repaired them. They just, and the technician showed me. He goes, you got 6 screws here, you got 3 screws here, and then you got the screws around here. Okay. The mechanic came straight out of Florida. Yeah. And what was a good thing about it is I did an online on Saturday night, and they were out Sunday. But they charge $129 for diagnosis. I get that. They need to make their money. They're going to travel and all that. And in most cases, like when we had our oven, I think we've called them out for our oven and that several times because, we bake so many pizzas and all. My wife is baking all the time. And the oven we had the way it was, the igniter was built in this thing. The igniter goes out pretty awesome. Yeah, it's daily. It's $129. I think it wasn't just for coming out Sunday. So but they had an appointment schedule open on that Sunday, so I took it. Holy. So anyway, I repaired a washer this week, and it's working fine. It's working fine. So I did that this week, and then so on the Linux side, oh my God. So the last couple of weeks I worked on using Easy Effects to do voice changes because I can't use VSTs over on the Linux side in Wayland because the windows won't open because of the way they use Ceph and all that bullshit with Ceph, the Chromium Embedded Framework, CEF, Ceph. So I Easy Effects been around for, since what, Pipewire came out or before, And so I learned about being able to use it for voice control and stuff. And it's designed to make sound better, but you can use the plugins to make it sound worse. So I have now, without using VSTs through Easy Effects, I have a hacker voice, a hologram voice, baby voice, a robotic voice, and a TV voice. And it's just adjusting, and not as easy as a VST, but well, to get it to work in StreamerBot over on the Linux side, because I'm using StreamerBot in bottles, because the installation is extremely easy getting StreamerBot on Windows in bottles. If you go to the StreamerBot wiki and follow the StreamerBot process to install StreamerBot in Wine, it's pretty simple. I did that a couple of years ago, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. Cody, you got his yearly eye exam, bought the new Meta glasses to use as my main glasses. Get out. Cody's gonna have some interesting videos, right? A couple weeks ago, Zuckerberg had been called into court for whatever reason, and his entourage were all wearing Meta glasses, and the judge made him take them off. Zuckerberg, another one. Oh, you millionaire bastards, you. Oh. But anyway, so there's like in Windows, you can easily get StreamerBot to run bash scripts and that, but it's hard to get StreamerBot on Linux to run Linux bash scripts. So I had to figure out a workaround. And I've used ChatGPT to help me with this stuff, and it got me to where we created what we call a listener script. And instead of doing a bash script set up in StreamerBot, it's actually a write the file. And then on the Linux side, we wrote a script to watch those files, and those files change, then it triggers Easy Effects to change the voices and that. So I got that in. So I got my voice control. Tyler says, it's amazing. This Mac Mini has 1/8 the RAM of my main workstation, but it runs so well, and a tiny thing stays cool. That's what I hear about the Macs. Were I able to fix the screen names? Yeah, I had to change my names over on. I'm gonna have to update it so I stay the same over on the Windows side. But I had to change the names to my scene changes. But that's another thing. So I got voices now to match my scenes. So then I wanted voice control. I wanted to be able to do, like I do over here in Windows on StreamerBot. Computer, right monitor. So here's my Windows desktop. And what's nice is now I have tablets. I have 2 tablets going for my decks, and one of them controls StreamerBot, so I don't need to StreamerBot up. Computer main view.
You are enjoying Steve's very
Hello, Res1 Coder. What am I missing here? Cody says, really bought it for mainly music and calls and a little bit AI. I won't use the camera hardly ever. Okay, Cody. I was pushing my girlfriend one year down a small slide when the girlfriend was at work. It was really cute, counting to 3, slide and celebrate. Oh, what? How you doing, Res One? How you doing? Welcome. So I set up Vosk on Linux on my Endeavor OS. So now I have real good voice control, and I can go through all my main scenes with voice control. That's a good question, Andy. Does Meta have control? But think of the easier uses for that. Maybe a lot of the oh, I don't know. I don't want to get into it too much, but instead of using cameras for certain things, you got the glasses on, so they don't know they're being recorded. So anyway, Rez is alive and well. Always good to hear, Rez. Always good to hear, Andy. So you're halfway of creating your own StreamerBot on Linux. So StreamerBot does work well in Linux. What doesn't work is SpeakerBot. You think the bottles would be an easy install, and it uses the same 4.8.1 .NET framework, right? But it doesn't see it. So voice activation, or not voice control, but using AI voices type of thing, or using out of SpeakerBot, or using voice control, because on Windows, StreamerBot uses the Windows. It's connected to the Windows voice system, right? Which doesn't work in bottles. You can't get it in bottles or wine, as far as I know. So Vosk, very easy. Run a script. It always is listening, and it works really well, just like this. And it took a while, but you got to get the naming. Computer is the wake word, and then I have the controls after that. Not for all my scenes, just for a few of my scenes. And then if I wanted to adapt it to, mute my mic and all that, I can add that to the script too. So got that done. So I got my wacky voices going. I got voice control going. Now I'm working on TTS. And I should be able to get it to where you would send the TTS command, just like you do now. I think which only have to most of the time only works on Linux, on Twitch. Because of the API stuff, the command doesn't always work on YouTube. But I can use Piper on Linux to so I can do the same setup, do like info from Twitch user, raw data, write it to a file, and then through a script, Piper reads it from that file, and then says the TTS on the stream. Andy wrote a small TTS program in Go a while. There's a light on the camera to let others know it's recording, but heard it's hardly noticeable. Yeah, I mean, you got the frames and all that, and you can always put a little dot or something over it, right? But then don't they have like meta written on the sides or something like that? So but I've been using AI to help me with this. In fact, I was using I moved from checking out Chat GPT, which the free version gives you only so much, right? And I did have to correct a lot of things, and then it would forget that I'm talking about Linux, and give me some Windows commands, or it would forget that I'm on Arch, and it would give me some Ubuntu commands. But as always, I start out the hard way and end up with going the easy way. So now it's for the chat TT. Do I need this stuff? It's fun to have, but it's what I have on my Windows setup. Of course, StreamerBot is designed for that. I just wonder because Vosk is actually for like voice control. Voss is cross-platform, so Voss works on Windows, Linux, and Mac. So I know Nate 1280, the developer of StreamerBot, did his recent update of StreamerBot to start working towards running it on Linux and Mac. Arksome! AI is great for prototyping scripts. Personally use Gemini since it follows explicit instructions well. Yeah, so I went from ChatGPT, then on my tablet, it's got Perplexity. So I was going through Perplexity, but Perplexity only allows you certain amount of inquiries before it just goes to a regular search. And then I'm thinking Gemini. I am part of Google and all that stuff and that. So I started looking at Gemini too, and for doing the TTS with Piper and all that. So if I get that working, the only other thing, well, with Piper, it's got different voices. I can use on the Linux side. People will know I can use Alan Pope's voice in my chat my TTS. But getting the scripts, getting everything running and all that, it's stuff that I've never done before. So I definitely needed the help, but I persevered. And then what I wasn't sure about what it was giving me, I would do some searches on my own. And I'm so far pretty pleased with the progress that I've made. Then I also created a startup script. So in my OBS on Windows, there's a plugin called Auto Start that you can use. Now I think I probably can use Advanced Scene Switcher. And Advanced Scene Switcher is such an odd name for something that controls so much in your OBS. It doesn't just advance scenes. It starts to stream, it ends the stream. You can run scripts or programs off of it and that. But auto start, I tried to do it with Advanced Scene Switcher to auto start programs, but I don't need everything to auto start when I start up OBS. So a new plugin came out called Auto Starter, and you put in all your EXEs. Boom. Now when I'm ready to go live, right before I do auto start, and it starts up StreamerBot, SpeakerBot, YouTube Music. What else? I have I'm old, I forget. So auto start. So StreamerBot, SpeakerBot, Touch Portal for my tablet, YouTube Music, and Social Stream Ninja all will start up right before I go live. So over on the Linux side, I created a startup script. I use 3 app images: Touch Portal, Social Stream Ninja, and YouTube Music. I use the web app because I cannot get the chat out of StreamerBot to work, but they have a web app for it. So that works just like it. And basically that's what's out of StreamerBot is just the web, it's the web app version of, the chat. And then I have, so Touch Portal, YouTube Music, Social Stream Ninja, the chat app, and what's the fifth one? Ooh, do I have a fifth one? So I run a script to auto start those. But it's for me, it's been a big project. So I'm glad to have you back, Arksum. Been a while. How you doing? Cody says I've been starting to play with the Meta AI, mainly compare it to Gemini and Copilot, but since I'm getting the Meta glasses, I'll be using it a lot. Okay. And you also switch back to Windows 11 LTSC mainly because I was required to use Lockdown browser for class. So I treating Windows like Linux, where I got an admin account and I use a standard account. Okay. Just like Linux, if anything needs admin, I have to put in my password. Okay. And Arksum, doing good. Monday is Mexican holiday, so I'm working on a side project. Okay. I hope all is well. So the Linux setup is coming along. Doing some of the stuff on Endeavor OS. Maybe it's an Arch thing, but I do have a little difficulty with installing some of the Python stuff, where I end up having to do I create a folder for my project, and then in that folder, what is it like? Is it Venk, a virtual environment to run the Python setup, because Endeavor has their own, or Python. I'm still a little sideways on that stuff, but that hasn't been too much of a problem once I got to understand it. And then I got bash scripts then that will start the voice control. Then I have a bash script that will, I have a bash script that starts all my programs. Then I have a bash script that starts my voice control. Then I have a bash script that starts the voice listener. I call it voice listener script, where it listens for, actually it's listening for a file change to change voices. And then I'll have to do one for Hyper when I'm streaming to get the TTS to work. And then I was looking at Speech Note, which is actually pretty cool and pretty easy. It is a GUI, but and it does take commands, but it's a little more involved to try to get the commands from StreamerBot over to Speech Note to be able to use it in OBS on the stream. So but that's been my big week, repairing a washing machine and doing this stuff on Linux. I personally just want to stream, and the more I have to work on setting something up, the less I have to kind of create stuff and come up with new ideas. But I want to see if I can do it, and I'm doing it. Cat dance. Yeah. Oh, but it's been fun. And then because Touch Portal, I can have two different setups. I can have my Windows setup and I can have my Linux setup. The whatever Touch Portal's running and I have set up, that's what will run on the tablet. And then I use my old tablet, so I pulled out my old Galaxy S2 out of retirement because I had bought a Lenovo tablet, which has I think it's an Olsen Bang sound system in it, and that it's a tablet that's unbelievable. You can actually use this tablet as a Bluetooth device to play music from another device. That's how good these speakers are. But I was going to get rid of this old Galaxy. I was going to give it to my wife so she can do like do her audiobooks and that, but it was a little too big for what she wanted. So I had an older Fire tablet that I gave to her. So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get the StreamerBot deck to work on this. And the StreamerBot deck is actually just another web app too that connects to StreamerBot through WebSocket. So now I can control, my main stuff, of course it's coffee
I'm
time.
making coffee.
So,
Anybody want coffee? I'm making coffee.
and it
I'm
sure
having a
is
cup of coffee. Does anybody?
a lot
Anybody want
cheaper than
coffee?
buying a
Because I'm having
Stream
a cup of
Deck.
coffee.
I just have my Google Chrome set up. It actually, the homepage now is the StreamerBot web deck page. That's all I use this deck for, is that, and it still works. It's only running, Android 7, but it's still working. I can't see paying. I would have to get a decent sized deck. Like the one I would look at would be like $169, and I can't. I can't qualify buying one of those, for my streaming project and that. Where I got that, so it's cost me. Touch Portal's free, but to do the app, and have all the extra stuff in it, it was $15. Actually, I paid $13 for it because I had a $2 coupon on Google Play. And it's good, so as long as it's under my Steve's very own Google account, I can use it on my any tablet or phone, running Android, and not have to pay extra for it. I was using an app called Stream Control, which does work really well and it's free. I did pay. I did a $10 setup for it because I thought it was really, really good. And all it does is, at the bottom of the app is an ad. It takes that out. You don't see the ad on your screen or anything like that with it, but it's not customizable. Where let's see. So that the tablet's very customizable. I have right now just my main scenes. I have it set to where I can kill the stream immediately if I need to. I have a sound deck going, and I have it to where it turns my NVIDIA background remover on and off. I can add stuff to it anytime, and you do that through Touch Portal on the desktop. Are you there? You are. Open. And you just add the buttons. You can change the grid sizes, so you can add more buttons to it. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. And it has a bunch. You can use Touch Portal for a variety of things. Photoshop, not just OBS, but for Discord, Spotify, Windows. Something is different. The streaming seems to react a bit snappier than before, as far as the changes of that. I might be lucky today. It has certain plugins that you can add to it. Yeah, I might be lucky today. You can add certain, apps and icon packs, and then you see the icon packs that are installed, so you can put icons on the buttons and that. I haven't really done that much in that. And you can have multiple pages if you have different streaming setups, so you can create multiple pages in that. So for $14.99 US, and if you have a decent tablet, and I believe they have an iOS version too.
You are enjoying Steve's very own live.
So that's all my tech stuff for the week, and it both works on Windows and Linux, and that makes it much easier and happier. Like, you can use Touch Portal 2 to connect to StreamerBot, but not in Linux. So I could add most of these buttons here on Touch Portal for Windows, but then on Linux there is no. And then the difference too is I'm using Wi-Fi right now, but you can use USB to connect to your tablet, and it would probably be even that much quicker. But USB, a controlled tablet, does not work on Linux. So again, the difference there and that, but it sure makes a difference with the streaming and that. Instead of having to, I don't need that stuff. I'll just go to the scene here and get the mouse. And if I can get the mouse over there, where's the mouse? Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. And change it from OBS and that. Maybe when I become a rich streamer, I'll buy all that fancy streaming stuff from Elgato. So yeah, it's been a trial, but one of the reasons I started doing that, getting back into the Linux thing, and I won't. Nah, I mean, there's a couple things that still need to happen for me to go back to streaming full time on Linux. It's fun building this stuff out, but it's just nice. I don't have to worry about how some things start up in that over on the Windows side. Once, once, if else, an if else statement. If the Chromium Embedded Framework people finally do something with Wayland, so it's on their list of to-dos because Toyota wants it. Toyota wants to build a new info system, and they want to use Linux. And they need certain windows to open, and so they need Ceph to work on that. And Toyota's not a small company, so it got moved up, but dev developers and I don't the problems and all that. What can't you compute, Andy? You can't compute on Windows? So Wayland, Ceph has to work with Wayland. Then I know Nate's a one-man show over there on the StreamerBot side, but if he gets native apps for Linux, that would be great, especially for SpeakerBot. Dan says the car industry uses a bunch of Linux in their infotainment stuff. Yeah. But I guess, Toyota wants to do a specific one in that. If else, if statement from before. Oh, okay. If can't compute. Although, if you are wanting to use StreamerBot on Linux and, the bottles install is really good. And there's some of the guys out there in the StreamerBot forum on the Linux side that are able to, they're able to get the chat window working. Well, like I said, it's just a web page anyway. So I just I made a web app out of it and have that in my auto start. Does the same thing. It connects and there's no issue. That's not a big thing. You also cannot do, now I don't create C#, like codes for StreamerBot. Things would be a lot, I guess if I did it that way, things could be a lot more, not easier, but yeah, I'm probably a much more comprehensive setup for certain scenes in that. But you can't build, you can't, the window opens, but you can't, there's no code, there's no editing, there's no nothing that you can do over on the Linux side. So, there's that, and then SpeakerBot. Again, if I get something like Hyper to work for TTS, I think my last thing would be then to still look at hey Nova, you guys, oh, you what the tab. I noticed that the other day I was on my tablet and saw YS Books go on. And I thought she might have blocked me for some reason. I could not send a message. So it might be a tablet thing. I guess. Now that okay, that makes sense. So I'm not the only one that it's happened to. I'm like, I wanted to say, hey, how you doing today? And it would not let me send a message. But it worked on another channel. So I don't know. I don't know. Computers, no error messages, no nothing. That you tap in the chat box and then the keyboard wouldn't come up, so you couldn't type a message out. But then I went to who was online? Was Nutty online? I can get into his chat, but I couldn't get into YS Books chat. So yeah, it was. So who knows? Just blame Twitch. Just blame the not Clancy. You don't want to blame Clancy Brown. No, it's not Clancy Brown. It's Dan Clancy. Is it that? Or Twitch Android devs, yeah. Devs work so hard, we can blame the AI devs. That's what we can blame. So, but I tell you, I would not be able to have done what I've done so far if there wasn't AI, so it's not 100%, especially the free version. Perplexity's like, if you want a better version and have unlimited, they want $20 a month. Like, screw that. If I were seeing Dan Clancy perform multiple times. Yeah, doesn't he do his stream something? Doesn't he do music or something like that? But not everybody. my wife decides to print. Not everybody needs a stream like this, but I started looking at a lot of the comments over on the Linux side in the OBS Discord forum for people coming, like a lot of this stuff, a lot of people are coming over to Linux now, Windows, and they have not a clue in a way of how things work over on the Linux side. Yep, he does things at the closing of TwitchCon where he performs with a bunch of music streamers. Cool. I got to get out to TwitchCon one of these years before I'm too old. I wonder, I know I won't be able to do it this year. I know Finite Singularity is planning on going to both of them, the Europe one and the San Diego one this year. That must be nice. Maybe next year, my wife, where do you want to go next year? Maybe I'll talk her into San Diego for a vacation. It just happens to be at TwitchCon, and I just happen to have a ticket. How well do you think that will go over? What? No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the 8 balls the 8 balls teasing me. But our big vacations are every other year. Maybe you can get convince LCG to do that this year if enough people are going. Yeah, that would be cool. I've never really looked at the pricing. It's relatively expensive. But she's talked about how she would like to go out to San Diego again. She hasn't been there since she's been a youngin'. I've never been there. So that would be interesting. Tell my son you can go to TwitchCon. We could see all the Twitch girls. Hotel room prices are always skyrocketing at cons. Yeah, you know what we do? We tend to rent a house or do a rental. That way you don't have to worry, you have your own place and all that, But yeah, it won't be in the cards this year. Maybe I can, honey. Well, what would we do? Yeah, I've been lucky to be able to split a hotel room. Yeah, just I've not looked at like VRBO or VBRO. We did a condo last year when we went to Orlando, and it was a bit under a hotel price. Yes, you get breakfast at a hotel, but there's something about being in, if you're at something like at TwitchCon or even on vacation, you're not in your room a whole lot. But when you settle down, it is nice. Like we had a 2-bedroom. My son can go into one room and he can be on his computer. And my wife can sit at the dining room, or it had a small. It didn't have a dining room, but it had a dining room type table and a couch and all that. And then the other bedroom. If you're doing the con specifically, my recommendation is that you can afford it. Get a hotel in Gaslamp District so you can easily walk to the event, or if you can go further out, something close to the light rail. Okay. But that's what we tend to do, and I we had seen some, actually, there were some houses that we could have rented instead of the condo in Orlando, which would all of them had pools and that, which would have been great. But they are all like 45 minutes away from Disney and Universal. So we found we were at Orlando back in 2019 and found it wasn't the same condo that we had. I couldn't find the information. The condo that we had back there actually was a 3-bedroom, so it was perfect for all of us. Privacy up the yin yang once you got back from doing all your traveling, and but I couldn't find my information, and I know I went through VVRO and it didn't seem to save it from back then. But my wife remembered the name of the place, and the condo that we were in was in one of the newer buildings, very similar setup, but only had 2 bedrooms. Hello, Carmine. Welcome. It's Total BS today. I mean, Total OS today. Welcome to the stream, my friend. What's up? But we were able to, we ate our meals out except for breakfast. We have a specific, thing. My wife's got to have her oatmeal. We're old folks and all that. And we didn't want to eat out every meal. Your car fainted from the gas price. I think it's gone up to $3.59 a gallon over here. But we were actually 5 minutes from the new Universal Park with Nintendo World and all that. That was the closest. We were 15 minutes from Disney. No, 20 minutes from Disney and 15 minutes from Universal, and then 5 minutes from the new Universal Park. That was pretty nice. So I hear that there are stickers showing up on gas pumps with a picture of Trump pointing up, and the sticker says, "Yes, I did that," and it's pointing up at the price of the gas. Oh, thank you, Mr. Trump. We just have to deal with this for a while. I am not a crook. Welcome to America. Why is my YouTube music? I've got the videos blocked, but my YouTube music keeps wanting to show videos, and it keeps asking me if I want to play videos. Why is it not playing just plain music? You likely won't do a TC for a 3rd year in a row, but might do a vintage computer. Yeah, I mean, I think the novelty. I mean, if you're a real big streamer, it's like your spotlight. But if you're a little guy like me, it's great meeting. I would love to see Exeldro and Finite Singularity and a lot of the other streamers that I follow if they're there. But it's one of those things like every year, or for those that are able to go to the European one. But the Vintage Computer Fest isn't it near Chicago, right? Isn't that the one Nate goes to? Cubicle Nate? I've always, like when I was really into Linux, I wanted to, like go to the Southeast Linux Festival self, or go out to LA for the one out there. It'd be fun to meet up with Nate. Yeah, I got to meet Nate once, and that was enough. No. We had a nice time. We had coffee and chatted for a couple of hours. It was really great. Our family, we went to we just to get away. It was a 2020 maybe. And it was actually, I think, one of the last times as a family with my wife's family that we went on a trip. But we went to South Bend, Indiana, just to get out. And Nate lives across the border in Michigan. Your big draw to TwitchCon was being able to see all the music streamers you follow perform live. You treated it more like a weekend-long concert in addition to meeting up with people. I'm sure it's fun. There's no doubt that that's pretty cool, and getting to see some of the presentations and that. And the food. Not just at the con, but the especially like the Mexican food around San Diego. Yum. That would be cool. But yeah, I mean, I would have liked to go now. Like the Linux ones, I use Linux daily. That is my main driver. Windows is my production stuff. My streaming stuff, and I just don't get into Linux that way. Although I'm doing a lot of stuff now on the streaming side with it, but I don't care to do another distro review. Don't care at all about distro reviews. You don't think you went to a single presentation booth both years you were going between the Cabana stage and the Yamaha booth and all the after con events? Those are things they have something for everybody, right? Really something for everybody. Some people go to really fawn over their streaming heroes, and others go to show off their wares, and but it's interesting. Gotta have my monitors even. But so this year our trips, we're just doing some really short trips. Every other year we try to plan a big trip. So we're trying to think of last year when we went down to Orlando, we drove, and that was pretty interesting. And longest I've ever driven, the time before that, back in 2013, we went out to New York and then down to Philadelphia and then over to Gettysburg. That was a nice trip. Last year I decided to spend a full week in San Diego so I could do more than just the con. Went out to the beach. Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah, it would be our week-long vacation probably. So give me a second. So professional. But we're gonna do we were talking about going up to of all places, Minnesota. Go to Minneapolis. Go to the Mall of America. My son has this thing about malls. He loves malls. And then going down to Southern Illinois to Metropolis, where I might meet Cody this year. June. When is this Superman Festival? So Metropolis has once a year they have a Superman Festival. Real small Illinois town. that if you go there outside of the festival, it's like quaint. You can tell there's a bit of, I don't want to say it's a impoverished town, but next month you're going to be up in Minnesota for a weekend. Cool. So the 47th annual Superman celebration is scheduled for June 12th to the 14th in Metropolis. And Cody lives down in Southern Illinois, so we're planning. It'd be like a trip. My son's a June birthday boy, so. And we might do another. I mean, and then we have season passes to Great America, and we go to Great America like 3 times a year. It's just a day thing. We might go to we might go up to Milwaukee Fest, the music festival up there. You'll probably spend a day in the Twin Cities, but most likely up in St. Cloud. I have a cousin I haven't seen forever. Omega Beast. What's up, Ramon? How you doing, my friend? Welcome to the stream. How are you today? Oh. So we might go up because let's see who's gonna be playing at Milwaukee Fest. But a cute cat, real ginger. Computer, right monitor. You got a great aunt up in St. Cloud and then a bunch of family on your dad's side in the Twin Cities. Awesome. Yeah, my cousin lives up in like northern northeastern Minnesota. In fact, I got one cousin. He lives in Bruce, Wisconsin, which is right on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota up north. And then she's like, you could take the highway up that way to my other cousin. They're brothers and sisters. I haven't seen them in years. I got to get a hold of them. So Summerfest in Milwaukee, if you are here in the States, if this is like one of the largest music festivals in America. The stages that they have and the stuff that they have, it is a bit expensive, but the last 2 years we got in for free. So all we had to do was like 2 years ago, it was like $40 for parking. But last year I found a parking spot for $23. So it costs us $23 to get up, plus gas and all that. But for us, it's an hour. It was pretty much just an hour away. But this is an amazing event. Dependent on like the music last year, the day we went, there were no real big names, although we did see John Waite. What was well, there are a couple bands that I've seen I have to look up that I can't remember. Let's see. Let's look at lineup. Who's going to be playing? All stage. We'll just do all stages in that. So if you know, Garth Brooks is gonna be there. I don't know. Sometimes half these artists and that Lilo, the Pussycat Dolls. There we go. Ed Sheeran's gonna be there. Cody, you're gonna be there. Post Malone, Muse, Jelly Roll, the headliners. I want to go. I'm a Chicagoan, so I want to go see Styx. Omega B spent yesterday and today fixing my CSS theme for Firefox because it broke on version 149. I am glad that I finally learned how to use the browser toolbox option, which lets me select elements in the browser. You've been working on that for a while. David Lee Roth. Oh my God. I don't see some of these. I'm probably such a boomer. I don't know who half these artists are. But you know, some of these are surprise you. We were walking by a stage and I heard this female singer, and I love kind of like, I don't know what I'll call garage band punk in a way. But I told my wife and son, we're gonna sit here for a while, and now she's one of my favorite artists. I can't remember names. I'm so bad with that. Florida. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Christopher Cross, go give me a break. Oh, Echo and the Bunnymen. That's a good 80s kind of new wave punk. Yeah, well, you know, hopefully, and you know, as we get closer to it, the weekend of June 12th, we'll meet down in Metropolis. Little Feet. Oh my God. Mountain Goats, Gin Blossoms. There we go. Bodines are back. Oh, we're right. I love the Bodines. Oh my God. The boys from Milwaukee. Although I think he lives down in Texas now, and they broke up. Sammy broke up with them. Sammy Hyenas. A lot of bad blood there, unfortunately. Oh, the Family Stone. Alejandro Escovedo. Oh, I love his stuff. 10,000 Maniacs. AJ Croce. I wonder if that's Jim Croce's son. Felder. Let's see. Oh, the Freddie Jones Band. These guys are good live. These guys are good. Buck Sherry. DJ Jazzy Jeff. Modern English. They're a good 80s band. 80s new wave. Lisa Loeb. The Jayhawks. I know, I've heard of them. I think my wife used to, like, forget who the Jayhawks are, or what the lead singer is. Living Color. That's who we saw last year. We saw Living Color. They were really good. They still rock. Who else? The Dream Syndicate. Yeah, a lot of these people, I just... Walk Off the Earth. Soul Asylum. There we go. Spin Doctors. They don't look like the Jayhawks. Definitely not basketball players. No. Here's for Andy, the post-sex nachos. Tracy Bonham. Ooh, yeah, I unfortunately I don't know a lot of these. Sounds like a Sunday evening. A Who tribute band? You like to see Jelly Roll in concert? He can sing. Let's see. But yeah, so they have stages as you walk around. I'll show you the map. There are stages, there is music all over the place. They have small stages too. It is just, it's easy to get to. Like I said, we got lucky enough to have free tickets twice last year, or for the last 2 years, for one day only. If you're if it's it's warm, in July and that, so it runs weekends from June 18th, June 25th, July 2nd. Some of the stages are not covered. So you bring you bring your sun lotion and that. But these are all the stages. I wonder if they have a map here. We used to go, we went several times back in the 80s and 90s, and it's totally improved, and their food got, they really got good food. Really expensive though to eat there. Very expensive. But all sorts of entertainment. Then if you're lucky, they're giving away free samples like Red Bull was giving away tall cans. No, not Red Bull, I'm sorry, Monster. So there was a Monster booth, and they were giving away the 16-ounce cans. And so I don't drink much. I'll have a beer there because for me it's too much with the sun and that. And beer is like $15 for a glass or so. Let's see, do we have a map? Line up stages. We usually have maps. Experience what? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they, you can do. Like I said, and then one booth is giving away cheese and stuff like that. But this is a pretty good time. I know they have a map. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. So this is it's right off of Lake Michigan. They have an island here. They do, like last year they had a drone show that was pretty cool. And then they have fireworks and all sorts of stuff off the lake, off the park here. Here's their main stage, and this is kind of like their second main stage. This one you have to pay extra the tickets to get into here. But then they have, all the stages, it's a lot of walking. It's a pretty good time, a couple gates and all that to get into. Milwaukee's a pretty decent town to visit. It's a small, big town, as they would say. But we might do this year too. So, and then we might do an overnight, since it's only an hour or so away. Actually, it was great. We went on the 4th of July actually last year, and traffic was it took an hour. I drove about 70 all the way there, and average like I averaged close to 30 miles. I think it was almost 30 miles to the gallon on my car, because there was no traffic and just driving all the way. Now, it was funny coming home the same way, no traffic actually, very surprising. And I think more people were spending out of town on the 4th of July last year, that we
You are enjoying
same took an hour to get
Steve's
home,
very own live.
but I only averaged 26 miles to the gallon going home. So did I get better gas mileage because it was hot out during the day? I don't know. Kind of weird. So those are some of the things that we're gonna do. Hopefully this year. We'll see if things are right. We do have to play a couple of things by ear because of some family stuff going on. But yeah. And then next year we'll look at doing a big vacation and that. So, my wife asked me yesterday, do I want, on the next vacation, do I want to drive, fly, or where do we want to go? I'm actually not sure. Not sure. Like I said, we drove down. Well, it's almost a straight shot. We drove down to Orlando last year, and went through Louisville, Kentucky, up there. We went then down to Nashville, drove through Atlanta. I was told that the Atlanta traffic is like one of the worst around, and I hear, like when we were out in LA, oh, LA's traffic. Have you guys ever been to Chicago and drove? Our expressways are always being rebuilt. Right now, they're doing a big stretch of I-294. It's going to be good when it's done. But Chicago's traffic is probably some of the worst. So I went through, yes, I went through Atlanta at lunchtime, but it was a little stop and go, but nothing like Chicago. Nothing like Chicago. But it was rough. I got to go to a Buc-ee's gas station and tried some Buc-ee's food and all that. Got some Buc-ee's nuggets. And I didn't do it. I mean, it's a 19, I think straight wise, it's about a 19-hour to 20-hour drive, depending on how many stops you might make. But we stayed overnight. I would drive probably no further than 6 miles, 6 hours or so. That's why the last time you visited Chicago, you took the train. That was smart, yeah. After all, you need a vacation from that vacation. I would love to see I would love to go to Austria. My father was from Austria. Would love to visit my niece. What a spoiled little brat. No, I love my niece, but she's really lucky. She's actually going to school this year in London. her weekend trips. Not just like in England. No. Yeah, she went up to Scotland. I think she's been to Ireland. Went over to Amsterdam. Went down to Greece. Went to Italy. Those are her weekend trips. It's like, what? But America is so big, and we really, for living here all our lives, we have not been to many far places. Like when we were in scouting, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan were pretty much where we stayed. And family trips, we, never went extremely far, but with like the big family, and then just us. Like I said, we our first really big vacation was when we drove out to New York. Yeah, we did. We actually started off in Sandusky, Ohio, for the Cedar Point Park. That was the weekend of my son's birthday. We stopped off at Cedar Point, then stayed there a night, and then drove to New York. Actually, we stayed on the New Jersey side because it was a lot. It was like $100+ difference in hotel, and it's real easy to get from Jersey over to New York. New Jersey that part of New Jersey might as well be New York, right? We took the train in the first day, went into not Union Station. What is that? Penn State. What do you call that big station in New York? And then we found out that the bus right outside our hotel went right into New York. So after that, and then we went down to Philadelphia Central Station. Thank you. It's Andy's from Germany. He knows better than me. The Penn Central, something like that. Central Station. Then we went down to Philadelphia. Again, stayed on the New Jersey side, and then went over to Gettysburg. Now, I'm a bit of a history buff, or I like history and geography and all that. And Gettysburg during our Civil War was one of the worst battles. The battle for Gettysburg cost over 50,000 American lives. A lot of them were brothers, fathers, So they've been restoring it at that time. If you're not into history, or it might not intrigue you that much, but if you're into history, it's really interesting. Probably the thing that we didn't do that we should have done, and I didn't allow two things. I didn't allow enough time in Gettysburg. We only stayed a night, so we had 2 days to do stuff in Gettysburg before we headed back home. So I didn't allow us extra time. I knew my son wasn't going to be really into it, but that's okay. And then going on a ghost walk, because supposedly Gettysburg is supposed to be one of the most haunted areas in America because of all the deaths that happened there, But yeah, I went to, Cedar Point, over to New York, down to Philadelphia, over to Gettysburg, and drove back. And that was our longest, for the three of us, our longest trip. And then I think actually, because if you did a round trip, if you did it, it would have been like 17 hours to get to Gettysburg or get back. It was 19 hours to get down to Orlando. So Orlando was the longest drive. We talk about going out west driving, but I'm not sure if I really want to do that. But yeah, so I would love to travel somewhere. Um, the thing, the good thing about driving is you get to travel, and see other parts of the country that just don't fly over. Figure that United States, it's so big that the way we travel from state to state here is what you Europeans do over in Europe. It's probably nothing to cross the borders in most of your countries there, because a lot of your countries are a lot smaller than the United States, and your countries are so close together, especially if you get to the like the northern end of Europe, not counting the Scandinavian countries and that. Some of those countries are so small and together that it's like crossing some of our states here. I went for a business trip or a business thing. We were remodeling. We had bought some of the one of the drugstores. Walgreens had bought one of the drugstores in that, and I got to go out for a two-week conversion to Vermont, Battlesboro, Vermont. And we actually flew into where do we fly into? We flew into Connecticut. We flew into Hartford, Connecticut, and drove. We had to rent cars, so that's what our company got. That was the closest way. It was an hour and a half to get from Hartford, Connecticut up to Battlesboro. Yeah, Dan, you remember when I was streaming that from the hotel then? Do you remember that? When I was doing my Linux streaming and I did it from the hotel because I had plenty of free time. But yeah, we flew in. Yeah, so I went through from Connecticut to Massachusetts into Vermont, up to Battlesboro. Well, very it was here. Oh, I'm talking and I'm not. Oh, I don't want that scene. I want this scene. So, where are we? So here's Hartford. We flew into Hartford Airport, drove up 91. Let's see. Where is Battlesboro? Not that far. Was it? Yeah, Battlesboro, Bradford, Newberry. Oh, here we go. I'm going up too far. I was just over the bottom. So we drove up to here. Brattlesboro, not Battlesboro, Brattlesboro. I checked out this forest where there's a kind of a somewhat not a haunted forest preserve here, but there used to be a mansion that burned down that was in the forest here that actually they use for a lot of horror movies. One of them, what's the one? From it's over 20 years or so ago now. Where it was like one of those found film movies about these kids checking out the forest, the haunted forest. Can't remember the name of the movie, but it was pretty cool. I did a lot of walking. up here and all that. So I've been in actually a number of states here, not as many as I hope to be, you know. I live, I won't zoom in on that, but you might be able to figure it out. But I live in this area here. I grew up in Chicago on the south side. Um, been up through Michigan and Wisconsin. I've been to Southern Illinois. Let's see. Here's Metropolis. Here's very little town, but it was named the official home of Superman many years ago. So, places of course they haven't been to. I mean, my wife, her dad and that they used to travel all the time. Their family's from Kentucky and down in Alabama and that, so she's been through all this. And then they had family members out in California and that. But if we finally got to go out to LA, we actually went to the amusement parks out there. Didn't see much of LA, but we've been out here. For company trips, I've been out to Houston, St. Louis, Las Vegas a couple of times. Nashville. Been out to Nashville a couple of times. Nashville is a great music scene too. You can walk around at night, bars and all that. So we would love to go up to the northwest. But yeah, when I come to think about it, I've been around. On the business trips, you don't get to see a whole lot. Oh yeah, we've been out near Arizona. We went and New Orleans. Yeah, well, my sister-in-law, her husband's parents had timeshare condos that if they weren't able to get to it, they would give us the timeshare and all that. We've been out to Lake Havasu. Been out to New Orleans. Oh, New Orleans, the food. Oh my Lord. I guarantee you some good food. Good food. I know I was on a cruise once. We went to Puerto Rico. We stopped off in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, went to the U.S. Virgin Islands. I did scuba diving once. So when I think about it, yes, when I really think about it, I've been around. But this is, such a big country and all that. What makes it rough is what's going on these days, These are all places that we stopped along the way down to Florida. But outside, I think Puerto Rico is, and the Virgin Islands are the only places outside. They're still U.S. territories, but they're outside the states that I've been to, and would love to go here, Austria. My father was from Graz, in that area there. How far would that be from you, Andy? I know you're over in Germany. You don't have to say exactly where, but I don't know where my sister-in-law, my niece, on one of her. I said, how far are you from Austria, from Graz? I know Graz is on the east side, but my dad is from this area here. I know you're in Germany. You're near Frankfurt. Oh, okay. 7 o'clock. That's, it looks like a distance, but I think a lot of it's a lot shorter. Some of these countries are all, pretty small, but I mean, I would love to do that one day. And uh, I think my nephew, because he married, his wife is actually in England. She's um, out near Norwich. She's actually up in this part of the town. But my nephew's looking to move over there. But everything's so like relatively close, so you're traveling. There's so much to see in a way in America and that. But one of these I'll hope to get around, get around this flat Earth, go down to Australia. That's the dream. Japan. My son wants to go to Japan so bad. Uh, and maybe we'll be able to go to Greenland one day. It will be a state, right? So that's been my travels. So
You are enjoying Steve's very own live.
Andy doesn't travel much. Every time I ask my son to pick a location to go, he's like, Japan. Hello, Melon. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Japan's not for you, Andy? My son loves everything Japanese. We put together. He ordered a Wonder Woman kit from an anime. I don't want to say anime place in that, but it was Japanese. All the instructions were in Japanese. Thankfully, the parts were numbered, and they had regular numbering on it. How you doing today, Mel? Welcome. How are you? No GeoGuessr today. Just chatting about traveling. So yeah, so I do a lot of GeoGuessing. On Thursday, I do GeoGuessing and guesser and travel. That's been my traveling around the world. He wants to do the not for tourist tour, not guided, explore on your own. That's not preferable in a country where no one speaks English or German. I think you'd find more people speaking English. I know even now, from what I've read and watched, I mean, there's still, a lot of American are moving over to Japan because of Japan's got such gentrification going. They got such an um older civilization. That's not the word I want to use. But their people are getting old and that, and housing you can get so cheap compared to over in the States and that. But then living in a country where, yeah, there's not a lot of English and they still kind of look down on you a little bit. The developer of Peppermint OS now, Tommy, he's been living in Japan, working in Japan for a long time. His wife, I believe, is Japanese. And he loves it. He loves it there. But you'll never know if someone wants to ask for the time or wants to rob you. Well, that's where you get your meta glasses, right? And you have a translation on there. So when they talk, you see the translation, right? How would that work? Yeah. But the food there. And he hasn't had an issue, or Novacharta hasn't had an issue with most of the places he's visited, but he usually goes to touristy areas, as most of us do. Yeah, I mean, that's safer. And he says, yeah, yeah, but you have to have at least some relation to the country. You don't have any. Yeah, but a lot of great places. You know, the only bad thing about the world is our governments. Most people just want to get around and travel and meet other people. This whole to kind of change the subject a little bit, but this whole thing we got going in the States is just, the again, like bringing up the white supremacy and all that shit. What happened? You ever think about what happens if your society you're able to do that, right? You weed all color out. Who do they pick on next? Person with a big nose or red hair or something like that. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's just most people I think are good and just want to live. And the hate, unfortunately, is just a louder voice. I don't know. I don't. I definitely don't like what's going on here, and it even the big noses. Yeah, like all right, oh he's got to have some bad blood in him. What the fuck is that shit? How boring. I tell you, the comedian George Lopez, as crazy as he gets sometimes. Actually, I was watching one of his stand-ups, and he says, "You Americans, you like Mexican food, you like Mexican art, you like Mexican, to visit Mexico for your vacations. You like our Mexican dogs. You like everything Mexican but Mexicans. And, you know, you can't have one without the other, it just, what does he need a nose for that? What's he sniffing? Hey, yeah, it's a funny comparison in that, but it's true. We're not having problems here in the States because of color. We're having problems here in the States is because the millionaires and don't pay their fair share. Get on an ugly rant here, but what is it? Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz. Do your doctoring, Dr. Oz. Don't he starts talking about finances, right? He says if Americans started working as soon as they could in high school and retire later in life, it would create like $3 trillion in surplus for the United States. Says a man who is worth $95 million. Maybe if you paid, do you need? I don't begrudge anybody making lots of money. I don't. But don't fucking tell me what I have to do to make this country better. How about you pay your fair share in taxes? How about maybe you put 1 million of that 95 and only have 94 million? Oh, no, 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 no. Sorry to go off on that, but it's just like, am I wrong? Am I? And our prices are going up and up and up and up. Oh, we're the most affordable. I know, dude. That's exactly what it is. But anyway. All right, that's enough of bad stuff in that. Dan, are you still there? I wanted to show you something. I meant to do it earlier. I hope you're still there. Let me know if you're still there, Dan. I want to show you something. Ow! Oh, okay. So, I know I sent you a thank you on something, but so this is my new studio. I create, from donations I had received over the years. I finally put that to use, and I built a IKEA desktop with legs from Amazon. This desktop is heavy. It's a countertop is what it is. It's not a desktop. It is a countertop, almost 2 inches thick. Yeah, kind of good on cable management. I could hide that. I could put a screen back there to hide that. The middle monitor I made out of a laptop. Floating counter, floating desktop. Floating shelf. And then a side cabinet for all my computer stuff. There's the printer, and I have a turntable under that cover there. So and you're part of the reason that I was able to do that. So thank you. And then the walls are a coffee bean, espresso bean. Espresso bean brown. At first, my wife's like, "That's kind of dark," In the daytime, you see the nice brown. At night, it looks black. Thank you. I'm glad you like it, and thank you. But yeah, it's been fun. I'll tell you, and I don't, you guys didn't have to do that and all that. I do appreciate it. And I always forget to tell you. I think I sent you a message once in that, but I don't remember if you had seen it in that. But you and Vince and some others, thank you very much. So, but I ended up building a small office for my wife down in our one. I guess it's a closet. It would lead, if we had a basement, it would have led to downstairs. But she's not. She's now got her cubicle space and that. But I can't get in here half the time because my son uses it. Typical sons, But yeah, it's kind of nice to have, and I got a bit of a setup. So this is what it looks like from this view. Got a 25-inch monitor, 17-inch monitor, and a 27-inch monitor. This one sideways. This one I built out of a laptop. You have kids, they say, yeah. But my son had an old Asus 17 and a half inch monitor. The monitor still, the screen still worked. The computer went crap. Bought a controller for it, and it doesn't look bad from this view if you see it up close. Oh my God. It's old person's day. Hello, Leoman. How are you? Welcome. I have a HP laptop up there. That just I have Twitch and YouTube on there so I can monitor the stream. That's running Endeavor OS. In fact, all my laptops now, I have Windows and Endeavor OS on the desktop, and I have Endeavor OS on 3 laptops. In fact, I have my wife on Arch, believe it or not. And then this is a Fat Man side view here. And I have my studio lights and my microphone. And here's my tablets, my decks. Had some time to pop in and see what you've been up to? Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot of Linuxy stuff, although I have been this last couple of weeks. I'm building up a Linux system again for streaming, which, you know, I've been streaming on Windows for a good couple years. So how did I use the old laptop display?
You are enjoying Steve's very own live.
I of course took apart the laptop, right? And the monitors are like really thin. You got to be really careful and all that. And pretty much for any laptop, you'll find stuff on YouTube for it. Looked up. It's LCD controller, LVM controller. No, that's not it. Yeah. So it's something like this. I found on Amazon actually. Ordered one. It said it was for my monitor, and it wasn't. It was I needed a 16:9 controller, and the one that came out was 1080, and it didn't work. So it was easy to replace and all that. But these are like $23, $24. The one that I got from Amazon for my monitor. You find it on the back of the monitor. It still has stickers on it, and you look up the numbers that way. And I bought a power unit. The power unit was like $8. And I built a wooden frame. If you see it up close, I have not particle board, but the thicker fake wood composite. It's a composite for the backing. But yeah, you just look it up, and not plywood, but it's a composite board. It's rough on one side and then really smooth on the other. It's pressed board basically. It's not plywood. And then I built a wooden frame. And I had some screws and all that, and it was actually was easier. I painted it black so you can't tell.
Very own live.
And the thing with it though is because it's one of those laptops, you know, like if you look away at a certain angle, it phases out, so to speak. Or if you turn it, you know, I actually have to have the monitor turned a little bit. Otherwise, if I look at it straight on, it's you know. Plywood is the only word you know that in context. It worked with Central Station, right? Yeah, it did. That. So, my wife's like, it's like the Starship Enterprise. But and then between the laptop and the desktop, I use desk flow to use my mouse and monitor, my mouse and keyboard from here, and I can use it on the laptop. Now it would be great if I would able to be able to use the mouse and that on the tablets and that, but then I use a Droid Samsung S8 with Droid Cam as a camera. Much better than the 920s, the Logitech 920s. Like 920s are really great if you have a natural lit room and you got sunshine coming in. The 920s look really good. But even with lighting, I know like so this is I have two 920s. And of course the light from the light from the light here kind of, like if I guess I can block it out. There we go. Doesn't look too bad. There we go. That way. And then this one's a 922, but it's picking up the lights from there. Is it raining out? Oh, it's raining out. Raining
You
out
are
pretty good.
enjoying Steve's very own live.
So that's what I've been up to, Leo. Just doing a lot of stuff. Most of my streaming's on Windows these days. Again. I haven't been really doing any Linux content. You won't find any of my old content up. I kind of put it all in private for now. Because some of that stuff, I would get some responses on videos, after a while, but a lot of that stuff doesn't have any bearing today. I think you can use some of the XFCE things I talked about still, but I'm a GNOME user. When I do use Linux, I'm a GNOME user. But I'm glad that you have stopped by and that. What else? On a non-technical, I like sci-fi, but I'm not a big sci-fi reader. Most of my reading is with oh, you are welcome, Andy. You're too deep in the cosmic world now to go back to GNOME. I actually had to give up Cosmic because it was messing with OBS. I don't know if it was a combination of the Rust Desktop, Wayland, and NVIDIA. But you couldn't, the docs, I don't know, do I still have a video that come on. Is it on my backup drive? Do. Boom. No, I recorded it. It would, on Wayland, you don't have the custom docs, right? But even with plugins that are built in, doing docs on Cosmic just totally were a mess. It was a mess. I thought I saved it. It's probably buried in my files here somewhere. I don't think this was. That's just my GNOME desktop. I'll have to You've been using i3 so long you forgot that there's anything else. And then you have a couple old netbooks and laptops. You inspired me to take a look at my old tech, at least for the next few hours until I squirrel on something else. But yeah, Cosmic, I love I had been testing out Cosmic since Alpha 7. And I expected issues with it, and I think when it finally went to full version, that it was still going to have issues because it was so new. But it just totally, I wanted it because Ubuntu will be on 24.04, and OBS on Ubuntu is as close to a Windows experience with OBS as you can get on Linux. With the Ubuntu PPA install and the plugins for it. And in fact, the plugins are easier on Ubuntu install than in Windows. I'll be honest. But it just totally, the docs just like they wouldn't lock in. They would just cover OBS. And I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna do streaming off of Linux, this can't be. I can't use this. And I am not going to use the Flatpak because I use way too many plugins. I have 33 plugins on Windows and 31 in Linux because a couple of them don't work in Linux. And I've been told I've been so crazy to use so many, but I use a lot of them to create stuff, right? So the Flatpak, just doesn't do it. There's a good number, like some of the major ones are in the Flatpak. But trying to, it's just so I had been using Endeavor OS for a while towards the end of my Linux streaming before I went full time to Windows. And I had actually gone back to X11 on there to get some of the things to work. But now we're going backwards, right? Windows, Wayland is the future, and it's more secure and all that other stuff. But it also there's certain issues in that, right? I can do without custom browser docs. I don't use them for chat. I don't need them for Twitch. I don't need them for YouTube. The way I stream and all that. I do need a multi-chat, but StreamerBot helps cover that. But, doing some of the other things, that it just was totally screwed up on Cosmic. I like Cosmic. Yes, it's GNOME-like. But maybe when they get up to version 3 or so, when they start really getting a lot of, some things running better, I might go back. But I'm okay with GNOME and using extensions. You need extensions with GNOME. Who cares, It's a simple install. But I got a bunch of other stuff going on now with my Linux setup and that I'm talking about. So hopefully one of these days you can stop in and see what I'm doing there. But anyway, I kind of digressed there a little bit. So I started saying I like sci-fi. I'm a Star Wars, Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, you kind of name it, I'll watch it. Not a big reader of sci-fi. Most of my reading is adventure and detective kind of novels and that. You've grown accustomed to each monitor having its own set of workspaces to go back to GNOME. Yeah, pluses and minuses in that. But the few one of the few sci-fi books I've read, one of my favorites is Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard. Yes, the Scientologist. The paperback book alone is like this thick. It's a huge book. Well, I've been listening to the audio book of it, and they did a very special audio book. It's labeled as a cinematic experience for the mind. It's got 69 voice actors in it. It's got sound effects. It's got background music. And the only thing that's missing is the screen. And you just, the audio book alone. If you listen to audiobooks, right, probably the average audiobook is about 10 hours long. This is 48 hours long. That's how big Battlefield Earth is. And I'm down to 3 hours listening to it. I listen to it all the time now, I'll be sad when it's done. Might not be the best out there, but it's the best for me, and I really do enjoy. I've actually read Battlefield Earth twice in my life. That's a thick book to read twice. A lot of story behind it and all that, and so I've been doing that. So I've lost. I'm way behind on podcasts. I still listen to a number of podcasts, and I got, like Linux User Group. Listen to that. Listen to Linux Out Loud, and then I still listen to Linux Matters and the Linux Lads, and what's the other one with Joe? The Linux. Most of them I listen to, it's just because I like the people on there and that. One of my newer podcasts that I've listened to, I've been listening to it for a while, but it's probably newer for me. Tux Jam. And I've gotten to know these guys. They are over in England. I think a couple. One is Scott. One is English. I think a couple of them are English. Two of them are Scots. And they do a Tux Jam podcast, and they are probably some of the better podcasts on Linux. They're not very opinionated against Windows or stuff like that. They do a real good breakdown on distributions or programs and all that. And then they pick out some of the best. They play in their podcast. They play some royalty-free music, and they pick out some really good choices in that. So if you listen to any Linux podcasts and that, check out Tux Jam. And then they have a Telegram group, and then every couple months they don't do it record it live, but they'll do for their time. They start at like 6:00 in the evening and go on until the last person comes off, and that, so which is around noontime for me, and they'll be live on not Twitch, on Telegram video and all that. So, and there's the Tux Jam Telegram group. And then I listen to I love Katie Sackhoff, although she's kind of, she's reviewing Battlestar Galactica now. She started it, never watched it. After 20 years, she's finally watching it. And she's kind of like doing reaction videos with it, and that's kind of cute. And then Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville, Lex Luthor from Smallville, has got the Inside of You podcast that I like. That's pretty much my entertainment, for the week. And like I said, we will pick a streaming platform for a month. Like, we're just finishing up Netflix. And then I picked up Amazon for right now. And then when that's done, I think we'll go to Paramount to catching up on the Star Trek stuff and that. But I watched a new Netflix movie last night that they just released the last couple of days, War Machine with Alan Rickman. And it's kind of like Battle for LA, Battle for Los Angeles, and Transformers mix with a little bit of Predator. And these guys are going for Ranger training. And the last part of the Ranger training is a secret, mission they got to complete without being caught. And during this mission, they come across an alien robot. Actually, it's done pretty well and all that. But it kind of ends like Battle for Los Angeles with the helicopters flying off to help save the day, you know. But if you get a chance, I'd watch it. I think I was done really. I thought I was done pretty good. I've seen some comments where the robot was of a better, not quite a better design. Is that the word? But was better than the Transformers. It was pretty decent for a Netflix budget. I thought the special effects were pretty good in that. So check out War Machine. And then my wife and I were in watching Night Manager on Amazon. We just finished Night Agent on Netflix. Oh, on Netflix, there's one with Eric Bana. It's called Untamed. It's a 6-episode series. Take place in Yosemite National Park, in the area of where El Capitan is. And he plays a federal agent working, your wife and you just watched Night Agent 2. Yeah, I think this season was really good, although I guess it didn't get the ratings it did after the first season. I thought this third season was better than the second season on Night Agent. But I thought the antagonist was killed off. I thought he would have been a good for the future in that, but did they renew it? I heard they were talking about it, or they were unsure because it didn't get the ratings that it did. They thought it would. The ratings have dropped. It's so much to watch, though. But Night Manager is pretty good on Amazon with Loki. With Tom Hiddleston and Hugh Laurie. This is actually the second season of Night Manager. Season 2 is 10 years after the first season. But they renewed that for a third season now. In it, Tom Hiddleston proves that he could be a good James Bond. What a combination, Tom Hiddleston and Hugh Laurie. Yeah, Hugh Laurie plays a good bad guy. But if you got access to Amazon Prime, check out Night Manager. But Untamed with Eric Bana, it's only a 6-part series, and it starts out. These two guys are rock climbing, right? And I don't think this is CGI. I think it was two guys really rock climbing, but the face is almost straight up. And the lead guy is using the prongs to get in the crevices to set up the rope for the guy below him and that. And the scene, the camera scene, I'm like, oh hell no. No, 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 no. All of a sudden, this girl comes flying from above them, gets caught in their rope, almost pulls them down. And so it's a murder investigation in that. But it has Eric Bana in it, Sam Neill is in it, and William, the dude that plays Bullseye on Daredevil, he's in it. He plays a bad guy, kind of. But the scenery is unbelievable. It is so gorgeously filmed. So check out Untamed on Netflix. You will not. I'm pretty sure you will like it. So that's what my wife. We find these we usually go after these very not visually violent but mentally violent movies, that really threw at your head. And we wonder if something's wrong with us. But that's what we do in our time. We've been binging on movies. We got 2 more episodes of Night Manager to go. That's a short. That's only 6 series season. 6 chapter series, whatever. Between that and listening to my audiobook, I actually haven't been on the computer much outside of doing the streaming and setting things up. I haven't watched much TV. It's hard to watch outside of the movies I've been watching and that. I've been staying off of Netflix for a while. Not YouTube. I've been staying off of YouTube for a while because my feed is mostly with a lot of anti-Trump stuff and such and the news. I'm just so fed up with what's going on here. I'm bringing back to that, circling around. So I have to listen and watch something else. So I've been listening to this audio book while I'm doing stuff around the house. What do you guys do to kind of get away from the shit that's happening here? I know the outside of the country there's still a lot of stuff going on, but here alone it's just some crazy shit. Just crazy. Andy, computer games and programming. I mean, you can't avoid it. I know some people say I don't watch any of that. Well, you got to know what's going on. Because then, I didn't know this was happening. Linuxing all the things. Linux is... I have a love-hate relationship with Linux. But I'm an instigator. I like that, and I'll be that person we'll be sitting at dinner, and everybody be talking, kind of teasing each other and all that. And I know some ways to trigger people. I'm such a bad boy. And it'll be quiet all of a sudden, and I'll mention something about my sister-in-law. Not something bad. But then everybody starts picking on her, and I just go back to eating. When my grandmother met my wife, when we first started dating, my grandmother told Stephanie, Steven's got the devil in his eyes. I like to instigate. So I instigate my former Linux followers by talking about Windows. Because I get so, like the whole, oh, Windows, ban him, ban him, ban him. I'm tired of that shit. I'm just. I'll listen to, people tell me their problems with Windows, and I'm like, I don't have a. Oh, there's too many ads on Windows. I'll be honest. I've only, in the year that I've been on Windows, especially Windows 11, one ad, and that was actually from one of the apps that I have. You're watching from a Mac this morning, so well, good. I you know what? I've never had the experience of a Mac. I kind of hate like iPhones. I hate that environment. To me, it's too constricting. And I would have customers come in with their iPhones trying to get pictures off of them, and they like, what do you got a phone? What do we got this for if you can't figure out how to get phone pictures off of it? It's individual what problems you get on Windows just as on Linux. Yes, isn't it? It's just the same. But then people bring up like, remember back in 20. It was shortly after Windows 10 came out. So I want to say actually 2015. When did I buy my wife's laptop? I bought her an Asus Vivio book, a 2003 HA. And it only has 4 gigs of RAM and a 32 gig eMMC drive. And it was really rough to update it. You had to put a USB in for room until they finally fixed that. But then Windows 10 was deleting files. It happened once on a certain subset of people, and it's still Windows deletes files. Windows deletes files. It's just like, that's 10 years ago. Well, it happens once. It happens forever. Well, what when Linux screws up? Huh? It's just like drinking and then we drink, and sometimes you drink in excess and then you throw up and you feel terrible the next day and you're never going to drink again. And the next week it comes and you're out drinking. That's Linux. Tyler spent a decade on Android at some point and just had enough, so I've been on iPhone for 4.5 years now. All Linuxers are drunk. No, the experience. You're having a good time drinking and then you have too much. So all of a sudden Linux just like, there's an update. Who hasn't had a borked update on Linux? Raise your hand. Just saying. Has Windows messed up? Yes. Now I get the philosophy. Dan can't drink in real life, so it might as well be Linux. I think I had a beer Friday when I made pizza. I may have a beer every other week. I will go months without having a beer or drink. Doesn't sit with me right anymore. Even, and then when I find a beer that takes care of me, yes, it may be a weaker beer, but if beer is brewed right, you don't get much of a headache off of it. It's fine. But then those beers, it's like, oh, Steve likes this beer. We can't make it anymore. Tyler runs immutable distro, so if an update is broken and it's upstream issue, it doesn't make much. Yeah, I think immutable distros are a good thing. I know, the Linux and people that want to have control. No. I think it's a real good idea. Look how well it does for Chromebooks. May not be built immutable, but it's on the same principle. It's the way Chrome, the A/B install. You're on A and B is doing an update, and then when it's ready, it switches, and if something happens, it goes back to A. To me, that's pretty immutable. I know. I would have no problems with immutable distros. I've tested out a couple of them. But no, I mean, again, Linux is, I'm not anti-Linux. I use it. The Linux is my daily driver. If I do go and I'm surfing or I'm watching and I'm consuming media and all that, I'm on my Linux desktop. I'm on Endeavor OS. I'm getting used to Arch. I'm getting used to Arch installs. I thought I never would. But I know Endeavor's not really Arch. If you didn't install Arch the Arch way, it's like, bite me. Do I have that? Oh, I don't have my button for bite me. But yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying an Endeavor OS, and I got my GNOME desktop the way I want it, and it runs nice. And like I said, I even have my wife on an Arch-based system. She's on Endeavor OS on a laptop with GNOME. So to me, a computer system, operating system is an operating system. It's there to do something. Now, if you want to talk philosophy, you can talk philosophy. If you want to dispute the philosophy of Windows compared to Linux, dispute it. If you want to dispute it between Linux, Mac, and Windows, dispute it. But all do basically the same thing. The average person consumes media on their computer. It's all laptop, tablets now anyway, mostly. I mean, since I got this Lenovo tablet, I do not use a laptop anymore. That's how this Lenovo it's Lenovo Tab. Like I said, it's these are the speakers on each side. This thing sounds so good, but look how thick. I mean, it's not your typical tablet. The bottom is so thick. But it comes with a kickstand. Whoops. Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds so good. The Wi-Fi is actually a piece of shit on this thing. It's not. I could be 10 feet away from my router and Wi-Fi still kind of bites. Otherwise, it's a it's a weird. It's a 11-inch. It's a weird. It's like widescreen type. But I don't use a laptop any. I'm on this thing all the time if I'm not on my computer. My laptops are used to monitor stream. My wife uses a laptop. And then on my other laptop is to show slideshows in our family room. Howard says, I don't care about whether Arch is installed the Archway or not, but I'm not a fan of something like Manjaro that delays package updates. That to me sounds like something that would cause trouble if you are relying on AUR for software. Although they are working on an immutable version, which will force users into using Flatpaks or distro box, making that a moot point. Yeah, I mean, I know, I hear the issues with Manjaro, but so many people go on it. Endeavor is pretty much a vanilla install of Arch, so to speak. It's just relatively easy. The updates are easy. I've been using, I mean, everything for my OBS is out of the AUR. And I have no real problems. I think OBS has been having, whether I'm on Windows or Linux, OBS, and you go to the forum, you'll see it. OBS crashes a lot these days. And of course, most of the forum helpers will blame it on the plugins, which could be the case. But it does seem that OBS crashes a lot more than it used to, whether I'm on Windows or Linux. And I know some of the plugin developers might be pushing the limits of. I know Finite Singularity is working on a plugin where all of a sudden you go in, and he's really stretching the limits of what OBS and plugins can do. Endeavor is great if you just want to install Arch because it's just vanilla Arch. You're not getting delayed updates, so you're far less likely to run into dependency issues with AUR packages. Yeah. And then true, like so majority of the plugins I have from the AUR are from the same. I use a specific install from the AUR for OBS, and it's OBS. Oh, it's an OBS Studio or OBS Browser Titan, or Titan 642 is the packager for this particular OBS. And it's very close to the official version, although it's not official because Titan also does a lot of help in the Linux forum in OBS. They will help you with it with no problem in that. There was a problem with one of the plugins updating. I let him know and he fixed it like in seconds. It just took a little bit for it to update in the AUR, and then I was able to update that plugin. So that's pretty cool. He's not the developer of the plugins, but he packaged them in the AUR. So majority of the plugins that I use are from him. There are others, but he does a lot of them. And every once in a while, a package will not update right, and you got to do something manual. I'm getting used to that. But yeah, I'm enjoying Endeavor. There's a good team behind it. I will never use a two-man distro anymore. I went through that with Peppermint after Mark passed away, and that. Debian, for me, Debian and Fedora, Debian's too. I guess you can use Sid and all that, I guess, but for streaming purposes and all that, I can't do that off of a Debian package in that. And then Fedora has its own. To me, I mean, I like some of the stuff, but I know, Tyler, you're using a Fedora based, like Silverblue, right? Is Silverblue you're immutable? But dealing with getting their other package manager and that going or whatever, I looked at CachyOS and I'm like, it's probably about too involved. I guess you can customize kernels and things like that and have things run maybe a little bit better, a little bit different. You're happy with the Studio Flatpak? Yeah, I mean the Flatpak is nice. It's just that the plugins, the plugins are. Kashi is overhyped, probably. But that's between Bazite and Kashi, because they're aimed at gamers. That's what people coming over from Windows are looking at. And then when they try to install OBS on those packages, and I see that in the forum, you know, they're not only to Linux for their first time, maybe, and they're on something like Kashi OS, they're on OBS for the first time too, and they can't get things working. It's just, it's crazy. So I may not be the most knowledgeable person. Might not be the most speaker. I speak okay. And when I talk about like OBS on Linux, it's specific. I can't talk about the whole spectrum, and I won't go into stuff like that. Don't ask me about streaming and gaming. Forget about that. And why everybody wants to record in 4K. I'm doing Minecraft and I want to record in 4K, and it's not, what the? Because it looks better, but like most people consume on their tablets again and on their phones. Why 4K? Why 4K? Oh, well, my coffee's almost gone, and wow, I've only almost been on for 3 hours. Bryce, my son's not pounding on the door. I don't have a 4K monitor. I still have 1920 by 1080. And then the center monitor is 16 by 9. It's 1600 by 900. But that's what I say. Look in the OBS forum. Look under, even in Windows, on the Windows part of the forum. All these games, and they, I need to record in 4K. And they'll be on like a laptop, and not a powerful laptop. Why is the quality bad? Why is this bug? Why isn't OBS doing this? Why isn't OBS doing this? Like, personally, that's why I kind of multi-stream. I know that my stream on Twitch is only going to be up for 2 weeks. So it's saved on YouTube. It's recorded. I'm done. I don't need to do anything. You thought about getting an OLED one, but apparently burning is a thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with these monitors. They look good. I watch something on them, they look good. They do what I do. I don't need a 4K monitor. I don't game. Yes, and most of it is aimed at gamers, I got a game on these monitors. But yet they'll play a game on their phone and it's okay. Oh, well. Well, I think I'm going to end it for today. I want to thank all you guys for showing up. It was nice seeing you, Tyler, and Dan. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining for today. Andy, as always. Computer, let's say goodbye. I forgot. I got to get the words right. Computer, time to say goodbye. There we go. All right, I want to thank Nova Charter, Caffeinated Linux, Dan Simmons, Andy 1242, Cody, Akalamer, Res1 Coder, Arxum, Nova Charter, Total OS, today, or as I told him yesterday, total BS today. Omega Beast, Mullen, and Leoman. I want to thank you guys for joining me today on this Coffee Klatcth. It's great seeing you. Coffee ground. Yeah. It's great having you guys join me in that. I always appreciate it. So I will be on again Tuesday for Tux Tuesday. Yes, that's Tux Tuesday, where I'll bore you with OBS and Linux and what I'm doing this week, and hopefully getting PTS working. All right, see you guys Tuesday. Take care.